Knock, knock, TJ. Knock, knock. It's me.
Who's there? What?
It's me, your landlord.
Oh, fuck.
I need to come in and take a look around.
No.
I heard your wife's panty drawer might have some mold in it. I'm going to need to take care of that before it gets out of control.
Dear God, no. What the hell's going on?
The worst landlords ever. Get deep fat fried.
Deep fat fried.
Wow. Talk about the worst of the worst, right?
Yeah, I mean, these just kind of get worse as we go along. I kind of structured it so that, like, we start off with bad and we end with evil, you know?
Cool.
Dude, if you make it on this list, I have to say I am impressed because not only do you, like, not give a fuck about your fellow man at all, but I have read and heard and seen personally some terrible shit done by landlords to people.
So this is our first landlord, Thomas Daley, and TJ, you can cheat, but Scotty, what do you think this guy did just looking at him?
Well, then when you're talking about landlords and shit, I'm assuming like black mold just spread throughout an entire property and just like infect and like get sick entire groups of fit people and families.
Good guess, but no. This guy was a creeper landlord.
Oh, okay.
In fact, to the extreme, I would say he was a creeper. Most of his tenants just happened to be single women, and he had a very keen interest in all of them. In 2008, one of Thomas Daley's tenants asked her boyfriend to help her change a light bulb in her bathroom. And when he went up there to do it, he discovered that there was a small video camera hardwired into the wall.
Oh, fuck.
They called the police, who found another camera at her bedroom. Police opened an investigation, and they discovered that Daley had 32 more cameras installed in his Norristown, Pennsylvania apartment building. There were cameras, some with audio capability, hidden behind screws and bedroom ceiling fans, behind pinholes in walls, behind faucets and bathtubs, behind doorbell chimes. He had such an elaborate system set up that when someone in the apartment would activate a light switch or a ceiling fan, he was able, via the internet, to retrieve video, images, or audio. So he was able to just like know when you were moving around your house and tune in immediately to a live feed of whatever you were doing in pretty much any room he wanted to see you in.
Dude, perversion is like the inspiration behind some ingenuity for sure. Like this guy like built a complex system to be a pervert.
Yeah.
Sounds like he has like a sophisticated surveillance system throughout his house or his apartment buildings just to creep on his single female tenants.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he wanted to catch them in prime moments like, oh, they're in the shower. Perfect.
Isn't there a movie that's like this?
There is I think Nicolas Cage, there's a story about like a motel or something where like they spied on all like the people there would be there. Like they would spy on like all the occupants or people come off the road. They would witness like all kinds of kinky sex shit, like threesomes, you know.
Is that 8mm? No, I'm trying to remember.
No.
I could swear that there's like a horror movie that's about just this. About
I think there's a horror element to it. I think you're right.
Yeah. It's about like a single woman who moves into an apartment building. She's got a creepy landlord, and she finds out that he's watching everybody in the building, and then he tries to kill her, and yada yada yada. I'm pretty sure that exists, but I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Remember how like Chuck Berry had that like restaurant, and then he was found to have like hidden cameras,
cams, yeah,
in the fucking bathroom, the women's bathrooms of the fucking restaurant.
Yep. And you got to imagine that for every one of these that gets caught, there's probably like 1,000 that are just running all day, every day. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Which is really like, when you think about the implications of it, staying in an Airbnb becomes pretty fucking like.
Oh, yeah. There have been cases where people's Airbnbs have been caught doing that. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah. So, you know, if you've stayed in multiple Airbnbs, likely your ass has been fucking recorded doing some shit. Montgomery County District Attorney Risa Furman said no cameras were found in apartments currently rented by men. She said Daley had installed the cameras, typically one in the bedroom, one in the bathroom, in at least 7 apartments that he rented to women in Norristown over the last 19 years.
So he got away with this for a long time before he actually got caught.
Yeah.
It's like, don't look at my face. I'm pretty sure they already know what you look like, bro.
Yeah.
Don't
Pretty
look at
sure
me.
it's a matter of public record what you look like. So, and we just looked at a picture of you a minute ago. So, yeah.
He pleaded guilty in Montgomery County Court to 30 counts of invasion of privacy and related offenses stemming from incidents between 1989 and 2008. Nearly 20 years of being a peeping Tom.
Well, how he's covering his face in this image, too.
Yeah. He feels horrible about his actions, said Daley's attorney, Tim Woodward. He's extremely remorseful.
I mean, I feel like his actions are a little too sophisticated to go with that line, right?
Yeah, he's just like, I couldn't help myself when I intricately designed and continuously installed surveillance systems in only female apartments, man.
Right. Like, I mean, like if this had been some kind of like act of like, wow, what poor impulse control, you know, then it's like maybe you could go with the remorse angle. But like when you systematically like put cameras in every fucking wall and light socket and build like an intricate surveillance system, it's kind of hard to be like,
I'm his lawyer.
He's terrible about it.
He's mentally ill. He's sick, and he's going to get the treatment he needs.
Besides helping police identify his victims, Daley is liquidating all his assets so that they can be apportioned to his victims, the attorney said. He added that 13 civil suits had been filed against Daley. Otherwise, the first one to the courthouse would have been the only one to receive compensation, Woodward said. Daley was ultimately sentenced to 4 to 10 years in prison. Seems a little light for being a complete fucking scumfuck for 20 years. At least put him in jail for as long as he victimized people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he probably got a little bit lighter of a sentence because it sounds like he was pretty cooperative once.
I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to deny it? You know, at that
There's a ream of evidence against him. There's no denying it.
So he was approved for parole and released in 2012 after serving the minimum of 4 years, considering his arrest in 2008.
Okay.
Wow. Sorry, had to get a little drink there. He served the prison sentence imposed by the judge. Montgomery County Assistant District Attorney John N. Gradle told a news outlet, "I'm confident that the Pennsylvania Board of Probation and Parole will keep him on a tight leash." Yeah, I'm confident they will too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say don't ever let this guy own an apartment building again. For sure.
Yeah, he's got issues.
Don't let any
abolish. Definitely don't let him fucking. Don't. Yeah, well, that's true too.
That's the bigger picture here, because there's a million this guys out there that own fucking apartment complexes and rental properties.
True.
They're doing shit like this. Of course.
So the only way to ensure that people aren't victimized in this way is to get rid of the fucking idea of owning property and leasing it to other people for their living.
Yeah, that's true. But even if you're not going to do that, like definitely don't let this guy fucking own an apartment building.
At a minimum, this guy shouldn't have any apartment buildings.
So let's step it up, in my opinion.
Right.
Now, looking at this guy, his name is Ephraim Vashovsky.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a look at this guy, what do you think he did?
This dude probably fucking killed one of his tenants or beat the shit out of one of his tenants. He looks like that kind of guy.
Okay. All right. Good guess. Nope. He is the king of reckless endangerment. So indirectly endangering his tenants. He's the guy that you thought the first guy was, basically.
Okay.
Ephraim Vashovsky bought an apartment building as an investment property in 2014 in Harlem. He had one big problem. The building was full of tenants, and all the tenants were rent stabilized, preventing him from jacking up the rent or doing any renovations. At first, he played nice, offering them all a buyout of their homes. They all took the money except one, a family of undocumented Mexican immigrants with 5 children ranging from 1 to 12 years old, which had lived in the top floor apartment for 14 years. Vashovsky decided to renovate the apartment anyway. He submitted falsified documents that claimed the building was unoccupied and he hired workers to gut the building.
What?
What?
Yeah, no one lives here. It's all good. It's fine.
A man identifying himself only as Sean, who claimed to represent the owner, showed up late at night and allegedly banged on the family door, threatening to report their illegal immigration status if they refused to move out. The family didn't budge, and the contractor, Ohana, allegedly started a massive, I guess the name of the company was Ohana, started a massive renovation in January 2015, removing walls and floors, load-bearing supports, and fire escapes while the family still occupied the building. According to a statement from the Manhattan DA office, this was systematic demolition of the inside of the building down to the studs and bones, said DA Vance. The defendants tore up all flooring, leaving gaping holes behind unlocked doors that children could have easily fallen through. So they basically just demolished the building around this family.
Yeah, they're just like, well, they won't leave. Well, we'll just fucking demolish the building around them. Who cares?
I think you guys are making a mistake. You really, really, really need to move out.
The building owner, Vashovsky, turned off the heat during the middle of the winter. Water leaked into the apartment where temperatures dropped as low as 10 degrees below zero. And so they were living in here, and they had ice encasing their fridge, their kitchen, their stove. As you can see here, this is a picture that they took as evidence. Wow. They just had like icicles inside their house. The family was forced to use a toilet that had turned into a solid block of ice. The family's 5 children, aged 1 to 12, had to sleep in their church to avoid freezing to death. So they basically like eventually got them to move out, but you know, horribly. So the city inspected the building and discovered the unsafe conditions. The family was forced to move. They were provided temporary housing by the Red Cross. Ephraim Vashovsky was finally arrested and charged in 2016, along with his property manager and the contractor that he had hired.
These guys, man.
Yeah,
especially
those
this
two guys.
fucking dude on the end, man. This
fucking. Yeah, these defendants are charged with turning an East Harlem apartment building into a death trap, said the DA. Ephraim Vashovsky pleaded guilty to first-degree reckless endangerment, a felony, and misdemeanor endangering the welfare of a child, prosecutors said. Can you guess what his sentence was? Take a stab at it.
2 years.
Okay, TJ?
I can see.
Okay,
so
all right. Then you're
it would be
excluded.
unfair for me to guess, but yeah, it's a little shy at 2 years though.
No, it's actually so it's 20 days. 20 days of community service.
Yeah,
not even jail.
20 days community service. You know how it is.
So you destroy these people's lives around them, lied at every turn, and his punishment is 20 days of community service, which he's probably going to pay someone else to do for him.
And he agreed to forfeit $350,000 that he had invested in the building, which, you know, I guess that stings, but it's not the prison sentence you would expect in a situation.
Yeah,
like
I would
this.
expect at least a little time in jail for something like that. You know, like a year, maybe 2 years, 3. You know, I don't know.
Speculation is that he got off light mostly due to the fact that the family that he did this to were illegal immigrants. And so there was really,
I mean, that
really
is kind of
no way to compensate the victims and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it sucks, but they're just not considered as much as a naturalized citizen would be, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care who you are. You definitely shouldn't be subjected to those kind of conditions.
No. And if you subject someone to those types of conditions,
yeah, there should be some kind of penalty beyond just 20 days. I mean, even a stiffer community service, fucking 100 days community service and like $1 million fucking forfeiture or something. I mean, I don't know, like something that actually has some kind of sting to it a little bit.
Sir,
because that's just kind of like,
So would you show your wrist to the court? All right, bailiff, go ahead and slap that wrist.
Bailiff.
Not too hard. Not too hard.
Just a nice,
lightly rap his
firm,
wrist.
but not painful slap on the wrist. Just enough to let him know. And then to tell him he's a bad boy.
Flog that man with a peacock feather.
Yeah, basically.
Whip him. Oh, yes. Look, we're beating
You're
him.
a naughty boy.
Whap, you're bad. Oh, you almost hurt those poor immigrants. Oh, you're bad boy. You're so naughty.
All right, then.
I love how the bailiff carrying out the sentence is like a Cockney chimney sweep lady or some shit.
Yeah, well, it's like I wanted to figure. I was trying to put the most like effete, non-threatening voice I could, and that was what happened.
Into TJ Psyche. All right.
Yeah. Wants to be whipped. Wants to be whipped by a fucking gutter snipe, dude.
Yeah.
You're a bad boy, Scotty. You're naughty.
Oh,
You're a naughty boy, Scotty.
It's time for your rump to be turned into tenderloin. Now bend over that there stump and let me get to
now yours
work.
actually sounds scary. I was trying to just sound like real, like non-threatening.
Oh, you bet your goddamn ass I'm fucking scary, TJ. You bend over that stump and present that rump.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, mistress.
Hold on. Yes, mistress.
Oh, yes, mistress.
I'm gonna have to. Let me just kill this camera for a minute. Keep going.
Continue.
You're gonna have to. I'm gonna take a look at my PayPal, and when I see some money in there, we'll keep going. How's that?
On we plow.
I'll get you on the comeback, TJ.
All right, fair enough. Emphasis on come. Right.
So Scotty, because you can't cheat, we're talking about the guy on the left named Lawrence Myers. What do you think he did?
Meth lab.
Good guess.
That's a pretty good guess, dude.
I would have guessed too, but Lawrence Myers is a murderer.
Oh shit!
Just a common garden variety murderer.
There might have been meth involved, though. Looking at him,
yeah, it seems like maybe.
And what we're going to talk about here with Lawrence Myers is basically an insurance scam gone horribly wrong. Lawrence was having difficulty paying the mortgage on his Chicago apartment building. So another fucking landlord that shouldn't be a landlord. You know what I mean? If you can't pay the fucking goddamn bills on the apartment building, you can't provide housing for anybody.
Right. Yeah.
So he decided to cash in on his $250,000 insurance policy. He hired his maintenance man, Marion Andre Comier, pictured on the right here, to burn down the building. Comier mixed gasoline and oil to hide the smell. I guess if you do an oil gas mix, it tamps down on that gas smell.
So take notes, anyone planning to burn down a building for the insurance money. I don't know.
And at 6:30 in the morning on Valentine's Day in 2010, he started a fire on a couch in an empty unit on the first floor. The fire spread quickly, and it blocked the only staircase to the second floor. 7 of the building's occupants died from carbon monoxide poisoning in their sleep. The victims were aged 3 days old to 20 years old. 6 of the 7 killed were all related. So all from one fucking family.
So basically, you killed a bunch of fucking kids in a family, basically.
Basically
what it sounds
killed
like.
an entire family,
Yeah. So, yeah. You're pretty stupid if you... I mean, like... That's going to get investigated. You know that, right? Like 7 people die in a fire. They're not just like, oh, well, whatever. Like,
I mean, I know that. Scotty knows that. You know that. Look at this guy on the left. Does he know that?
How did this guy have money to own a fucking building in the first place?
Yeah. Building burns down. TJ, I collect easy $250.
What I know is if I burn down the building, I'll get some money.
His parents probably weren't methed out, cracked out scum fucks, and they probably died and left him with a bunch of fucking money because they, owned an orchard somewhere or some shit. And he proceeded to smoke a bunch of crack and do the most reprehensible thing you can do when you have money: become a slumlord. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So initially, and here's a picture of the scene. Initially, Myers denied involvement in the crime. No, I didn't do nothing. However, police were tipped off to the plot by 3 witnesses who heard the 2 men discussing the crime before the fire.
Oh my God, are you fucking shitting me?
Nope.
Oh my god!
They were discussing it in a public fucking place where people could overhear them.
We burned down my apartment building. Like, how are you gonna keep like the gasoline smell down? I've got it all figured out. I've got this all squared away. We're gonna mix oil into it.
This guy's. What
the fuck?
Okay, so I'm like obviously like morally indignant that this dude did this and shit, but I'm honestly also just like pissed at how stupid the execution of this fucking plan was.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you should have got
the building.
Like, even if you're a fucking sociopathic, don't give a fuck about human life, motherfucker, you should get those people out of there because there's going to be way less investigation if no one dies. So
look,
find some excuse to make sure those motherfuckers are out of the building.
Dude,
first
we're
of
gonna
all,
have an exterminator come spray the building. Everyone's got to be out or something.
yeah.
Right.
Oh my
And
god!
then fucking
Electrical
oh my
fire!
god! While it was being fumigated, some terrible electric fire happened and the building burned. Like something, because you know what? The second that fucking 7 people die, there's way more of an investigation than just a building burning down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they're gonna go through every little thing and chemically analyze every little thing.
And then, not only that, you were fucking sitting around in the fucking Starbucks yammering about how you're gonna fucking do this shit.
Yeah.
And after we burned the building down, we're gonna get all kinds of insurance money, bro.
Yeah. I'm gonna
And
give
then we're
you
gonna be able to buy all kinds of fucking mess. It's gonna be
Is
great.
the money gonna be laundered? Oh, it's gonna Swiss bank account. What's the number? Okay, what's the bank? Okay,
I don't think
thanks.
these guys were sophisticated enough to launder money.
No, I'm fucking kidding, TJ. I'm just saying,
You know.
like, not to mention, like, when they investigated, the arson investigation happens, which is going to happen. They're going to look and be like, an accelerant was used in an unfucking occupied unit. Duh.
So after reading the news of this apartment fire, the witnesses called the police. Obviously, didn't call the police immediately because they thought they were just a couple of meth heads or whatever. But when they heard about this fire, the witnesses independently, multiple witnesses called the police. So that multiple people had overheard this conversation.
The worst criminals of all time.
Yeah.
Thank God they're idiots, dude. I'm sorry these people died, but I'm really glad at the same time I know these guys fucking went to jail.
Yeah, at
for a
least they're
long time.
dumb as shit.
Yeah. So authorities then placed recording devices on one or more of the witnesses. So I guess maybe these weren't at the Starbucks. Maybe they were at like another place that they.
It sounds like these are people who
worked.
actually know these guys.
Right.
So
they wired up these witnesses, and they basically on separate occasions recorded these guys just blabbing about what they'd done. So not only did they do it, talk about it before so that everybody heard them, but then afterwards, while they were being investigated,
while they know they're being
yeah,
investigated,
they're just like, "Oh yeah, man, remember that time we burned down that apartment building and killed a whole family?
What the fuck?
That was epic, bro." So yeah, these were some pretty dumb fucks. It begs a question once again, like how the fuck are you?
Paul,
even
you
supposed
got to
to
read this fucking. You got to read this quote by this
I know.
motherfucker, dude.
I know, it's great. So here's one of the things they got on tape. The guy on the right, the accomplice that actually set the fire, Comier, says, "I had my mitts in that, if that's what you want to hear," Comier said. Comier also explained how he set the fire in the conversation. "I did it different. I put oil on it. They couldn't smell it because of the oil," Comier said. "I dumped it on there, threw a match, and that was it. I thought this shit out."
You sure did, buddy. You thought it out
didn't.
real good.
Did you think to go like pound on the door and be like, "Holy shit, a fire! Holy shit, a fire! Gotta go!"
A jury took only 90 minutes to convict these two of 7 counts of murder.
Aw.
The landlord in question here was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Tragic.
Cook County Judge Carol Kipperman said she would have sentenced Lawrence Myers to death if Illinois law still allowed such a sentence. Everything in this trial was horrendous, Kipperman said in the courthouse in Maywood. His motivations were for money. This trial left me speechless. Myers showed no emotion when his sentence was rendered. As for his accomplice Comier, he's currently appealing on the basis of mental defect. So he's going for the old, "I'm crazy."
Well, I think both of these guys suffer from some mental defects. I don't know if it recuses them or whatever the word would be, but They're
Okay,
definitely
not only
both pretty
that-
fucking stupid. I'll tell you that.
Look, dude, if I'm an idiot with a harebrained scheme and it like goes completely sideways, I'm leaving town. I'm not going to sit around and be like, I'm innocent.
This bitch is pure. You can just look at this bitch. No, she's evil.
Ran a concentration camp.
Not far off. This is Dorothea Puente, and she's a serial killer.
Cool.
And also a landlord. So this is our last landlord tonight, Dorothea here. Both a scammer and a serial killer.
I think I've heard of her.
Yep. She began running her boarding house in the 1970s. She became popular with Sacramento social workers as she was willing to accept pretty much anybody, alcoholics, drug addicts, other difficult clients into her home who could sleep, which could sleep more than 24 tenants. So she had a giant house that she, let out to whoever needed it from the county, could have 24 people in it.
Okay.
Puente was caught forging the signatures of her tenants on their benefits checks and signing them over to herself. She was arrested for this and sentenced to 5 years probation, which barred her from operating a boarding house. Her probation was lengthened after she was arrested for theft during her probation. However, she soon reopened her boarding house. As soon as probation was over for her, she went right back to it. Now, I think that if you do this one time, you never get to operate any kind of hotel, apartment building. You never get to be a rental property owner.
I don't think her fucking probation was over, because it said the next sentence basically says that she just managed to convince the probation officers
so
that
they
were all just guests.
Give me a break.
Those are my
dude.
friends. Those are my guests. They're not tenants. No, of course not.
What a bunch of idiots, dude. What a bunch of fucking maroons.
I mean, let's be honest. She probably just slipped them a little money and said, these are just my friends.
You're probably
what I
right.
mean?
You're probably right about that.
Corruption.
So yeah, it says federal probation officers visited her numerous times and she managed to huckster them.
Convince them. Yes.
So in 1982, 74-year-old Malcolm McKenzie accused Puente of drugging him and then stealing his pension. Puente was charged and convicted again of theft in August of that year and was sentenced to 5 years in jail this time. While she was serving her sentence, she began a pen pal relationship with 77-year-old Everson Gilmuth. When she was released in 85 after serving 3 years, she opened a joint bank account with Gilmuth. In November of that year, Puente hired a handyman, Ismael Flores, to install wood paneling in her home. After he completed the job, Puente paid him an $800 bonus and gave him a red 1980 Ford pickup truck, the exact same model and year of Gilmuth's car. She told Flores that the truck belonged, quote, to her boyfriend who gave it to her. Puente also hired Flores to build a box that was 6 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet, which she stated that she would use to store books and other items.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Not a coffin.
So, could you make me you ever heard of a book coffin?
Yeah.
It's basically a coffin-shaped box in which you store, books and such. Could you give me one of those?
Roughly
You
the
can make one of
size
those
of
for me?
Yeah, roughly the size of my boyfriend. You see my boyfriend right over there? Yeah, roughly about the size of him.
You know how it is.
By the way, I think that this truck is really cool, and I would.
It is actually a pretty nice looking truck.
I like these old trucks. Old Ford trucks, especially, are pretty
old
cool.
Ford Ranger looks like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then
Probably
and I
a
will
piece
tell
of
you
shit.
what. No,
Ford was not great around that time, but
no, they were good, dude. These old fucking trucks, from 1969 through 1989, Ford trucks, they're built like bricks, dude. You drive this fucking thing into a
wasn't
river.
this during the fixed or repaired daily era
that's
of Ford?
just
I don't know.
That's just a fucking thing that Chevy owners used to sling at Ford owners because they were salty because they didn't have a Chevy.
I mean, of course.
Or they didn't have a Ford. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the
gotcha.
F-150 has basically been the best-selling truck for almost forever.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, as long as it's been I mean, maybe the Dodge Ram is up there with people, but I mean, the
Well, I
classic
will
is the
say,
F-150.
at least whether or not this is a good truck or not, I have no idea, but it
cool.
looks very pretty. It
no,
looks
it's a solid
nice.
truck right here, dude. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it looks
pretty.
cool.
It's
So
pretty.
She and her handyman Flores then traveled to a highway in Sutter County and dumped the box in a riverbank together.
This guy knew what was going on. Okay.
Yeah, clearly.
Like, there's the plausible deniability of like, because she's like, I need it for books and other items. Oh, I need to throw my books and other items into a river. So come help me do that, please. Like, what? No, come on.
On January 1st, 1986, the box was recovered by fishermen who called police. When the box arrived and when the police arrived and opened the box, they found the decomposed remains of an elderly man who would not be identified as Everson Gilmuth for another 3 years.
Oops.
During this time, Puente collected Gilmuth's pension and forged letters to his family. So she just kept up the ruse.
Dear family, I am alive.
Yes.
Life is good.
I want you to know that I am still living in this world and exist and am not murdered 3 years ago.
Yep.
Do not attempt to visit me.
During this time, apparently she got a taste for this, and she continued to house elderly and disabled tenants in that boarding house. And while they were living there, she read their mail, took their money, took their social security checks. She paid each of them monthly stipends, but kept the remainder for what she claimed were expenses for the boarding house. Puente's boarding house was visited by several parole agents, as we said, on previous orders for her to stay away from elderly people, to not handle government checks. Despite these frequent visits, she's never charged with anything.
I wonder if it had anything to do with the copious amounts of money that she had.
Bribes.
I'm sure there was no bribery involved, and they're looking the other way constantly, though.
Yep. Puente went to 2 different psychotherapists and asked for tranquilizers to calm her tenants. Instead, she used the drugs to stupefy and kill her tenants. She continued to receive social security checks for the deceased victims and continued to take on new renters. Her scheme netted more than five grand a month, which, in the 80s, that's a lot of money.
$5,000 in 1982.
Yeah.
About? Okay. Let me just check on that.
And it's not 82. I'd say like 85.
Okay.
What would that be a month?
What, like 15 grand a month or something?
Yeah, probably. I would guess.
So let's see, $5,000. We have to do this a lot on this show.
I know.
Well, it's 1982.
Because $5,000 nowadays, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's you have to understand what it would have bought you back then.
Oh, well, I did 82. You told me to do 85. So 82, it would have been $14,896.58. In 85, it would have been $13,359.85.
That's a
so basically we're talking about
living.
We're talking about $14,000 a month. Basically.
Yeah, that's doing well.
Collecting social security checks from your deceased victims of your murder house, basically.
Yep. In November 1988, another tenant in Puente's house, Alvaro Montoya, disappeared. Montoya was developmentally disabled and had schizophrenia. After he failed to show up to meetings, his social worker reported him missing. Police arrived at Puente's boarding house and began to search the property. They discovered recently disturbed soil and were able to uncover 7 bodies from her yard.
Oh my! What an idiot! She buried the bodies on her own fucking property.
Well, you have to remember too, though, Scotty, that this woman is 70-something years old at this point, right? Yeah. She's in her 70s. She probably doesn't have much of an ability to do much to dispose of these bodies, really.
Yep.
Cut them up.
Also, I mean, I have to imagine that she probably knows she's going to be inevitably caught, but just doesn't give a shit because she's so fucking old.
She's
anyway.
Ancient. So who cares? She lived high on the hog for
really
years.
There's really not much they can do to bring her to justice or anything. She's anciently old. She's on death's door herself. So even if they catch her, it's like, oh, you're going to go to jail for the next 2 or 3 years until you fucking croak. So whatever.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'll take it.
When the investigation began, Puente was not arrested or considered a suspect. As soon as police let her out of their sight, she fled to Los Angeles, where she visited a bar and began to talk to an elderly pensioner. The man recognized her from the news and called the police.
Oh, fuck. Should have kept your head. All she had to do was keep her head down a little bit. I mean, with that much, she had to have had a bunch of money.
She needed to go get some hair dye and keep her head down, come up with an alias, and stop doing the exact same thing that she'd been doing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Live on that money for a little while and let shit die down.
And maybe she didn't have access to it. Maybe the accounts were seized or something like that.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like the hair dye thing, like go fucking shack up at a Motel 6 somewhere, dye your hair a different color.
Cut it.
Your name is fucking Abigail May or some bullshit for a little while, you know.
Right. So Puente was charged with 9 counts of murder for the 7 bodies found at her house, in addition to Gilmouth and Montoya. She was convicted of 3 of the murders, as the jury could not agree on the other 6.
What a stupid fucking jury, bro.
It's so lame. Who else did it? What do you expect? Like, she just came along and started doing it, took over for somebody?
She killed those 3, but I'm not sure about those other 6. They could have died in any number of ways. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
Prosecutors described her as one of the most cold and calculating female killers the country had ever seen. Puente was sentenced to 2 life sentences, which she served at Central California's women's facility in Madera County, California, until her death in 2011. So she kind of like was serving her sentence just miles from me when I was growing up. That's creepy. She died at 82. So let's see. How old was she then? Let me see. Let's see if we can find out how many years she actually... Well, wait, she was sentenced in, let me see, does it say here?
It doesn't say the year. I'm going to go look her up real quick.
I think we said how old she was at some point.
Dorothea Puente.
I just want to see how long she served.
What year was she born?
So, Dorothea Puente, she was born in 1929.
Shit.
Let's see, what year was she sentenced?
She was sentenced in 88 or 89, somewhere around there.
She's like 60 then.
Because that's when she got caught.
She must have been a little younger than we thought then when she was.
Well, look at her picture here. I mean, she looks pretty fucking old.
Yeah. So she was arrested in 88, charged 9 murders.
So 1930, so it's 50. Yeah, she's like almost 60.
Yeah, so she wasn't 70 when she was doing this.
She's in her late 50s. Okay, so she at least served some fucking significant
She did
time.
at least go. She did go to jail for a bit then.
Yeah, she just did about 30 years in jail or so. So that's or 20 something years in jail. So that's a lot. At least she served a little bit of time for this. But yeah, those are some of the worst landlords of all time that I could find. Not that being a landlord in and of itself isn't a scum fucking reprehensible act, but
yeah, sure. But at least every landlord in America can now go, I mean, sure, I'm an evil piece of shit, but at least I'm not like Dorothea Puente or something,
Yeah, I'm not murdering my tenants.
I'm not murdering my tenants and keeping their social security checks or anything. So, like, come on, I'm not really that bad.
But there is one that even Dorothea Puente can look to and say that at least she's not that person. We won't mention the name.
Right.
But I think we all know, everybody in the world can look to just one soul.
There is that one landlord. Yeah, he was a real piece of shit, bro.
Anyway, that's bad, horrible, worst landlords. If you liked it, let me know and I'll do another one. See you next time. Bye.
Deep fat fried. Deep fat fried. Deep fat fried. Deep fat fried.